And we are live. Good morning, crypto warriors, and welcome back to the Gemini Crypto episode 769. Today is Wednesday, August 4th, 2021. And I'm King.
And I'm Bitcoin Zay. And we're here to bridge the gap between cryptocurrency and the community Monday through Friday at 10-ish.
At 10-ish, and today's top stories. Breaking, BSV reportedly suffering a massive 51% attack as we speak. Google running crypto ads again as new policy goes into effect. No more lengthy wallet addresses. Send USDC to username.coin. Binance to bring Bitcoin payments to Shopify via new partnership. And Nakamoto's innovation is real, says SEC Chair Gary Gensler. But first and foremost, Bitcoin Zay, what is going on with these prices?
Oh, yeah. So taking a look at our prices for today, Bitcoin's at $39,037, up 1.3%. Ethereum sitting at $2,616 is up almost 4% today. Binance coin at $329 is up 1.9%. Cardano, all of our Cardano people from yesterday, don't feel sad, at 136, up 0.1% today. XRP at 70 cents is down almost 1%. Dogecoin coming in at 19 cents, up 0.545%. Polkadot at 1852, up 6.28%. And last but not least, Uniswap at 2243 is up 4.5%. So not much movement, a little bit sideways after a big push up. 10 straight green days, we're going to see a couple reds. So not too bad. Don't get pushed out of the market and continue to hold.
Right. Speaking of getting pushed out of the market, I actually saw a story that was like one of crypto's people's biggest mistakes is selling too early. So yeah, if you sold already, it's essentially too early. But have no fear. In a moment, we will be introducing our in-house tax professional now here over in Jumping to Crypto. But we'll be introducing him in a moment. Really quick shout outs: BK Born, Bitside Rays, hello, BitSource, Chug It, Romero, Nappy Waves, Jake Fever, Milto. I see people starting to load in. Yes, I'm not sure, again, what's going on. They've been changing these times on us every day. So it says 7:05. So 2 more minutes before everyone can load in. And shout out to everyone who left a comment yesterday. You guys were going crazy in that comment section. I saw some hilarious comments. It wasn't very friendly at first, but I saw some unity toward the end. So that was really good to see. But without further ado, we would like to welcome a very special guest to the show today. Capital Gains crypto tax professional Brett Swarts. Welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome, Brett.
Thanks, guys, for having me. Excited to be here.
For sure. Thanks for being here, Brett. Before the show, I was telling Brett I have a ton of questions for you. The first question I have to ask that I forgot to ask is, how much time do we have with you today? 30 minutes, 40 minutes?
Oh, I got 45 minutes for you guys.
Perfect. All right. Well, we're going to get straight to it. And for those listening, you heard the top stories of the day. We're going to try to cover them all, but more importantly, is the Q&A with Brett. He is a capital gains tax professional, as you can see in the background, Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. He's one of the co-hosts of a very good podcast. I had a chance to listen to that as well. But without further ado, I don't want to waste any time. Brett, first question we always ask everyone: how did you get into Bitcoin and Bitcoin taxes?
Yeah, great question. I think I got to start even earlier than just to Bitcoin. I got to get into kind of my background into investing in general. So originally from like the Bay Area, like Mission, San Jose, Silicon Valley. I grew up with my mom and dad in the beginning, building houses, custom homes with my dad, learning how to work hard, learning how to be an entrepreneur, learning how to I fell in love with real estate at a young age. We would drive a Bobcat, my brother and I would hammer nails. We would just learn on the job site, and things were going well for a while. My brother and I, parents were married, the 2 dogs, the boats, all this stuff. Then the parents got divorced, right? And we went from like a lot of finances to living with my mom and like no finances, right? So I saw kind of both sides of the wealth world. And it was interesting to see all of this and experience it and looking back on it, because it really affected how I viewed investing, and affected how I viewed what I wanted to do in my future. I wanted to have some freedom in a lot of different ways. And so, for most of the year I lived with my mom, and we were, we were on a very tight, budget. And then I'd go to my dad's house for a while, and we'd, it's like, boats and Harleys and wealth. And so I said, you know what, I want to make it big. And so I wanted to go into real estate. And so fast forward in college, played sports growing up, played basketball in college. I wanted to do something that was competitive. And I said, you know what? I like real estate. So I went into, and I joined a company as a real estate broker, commercial real estate, a company called Marcus and Millichap. And they taught us how to help people buy and sell multifamily properties and different commercial assets. So I fell in love with that, but it wasn't always easy. During that time period, it's 100% commission, sink or swim. You're not gonna get a salary or benefits. And I'm newly married at the time, baby on the way, and we had to make a decision. Basically, the 2008 crash hit, and I went from making like a little bit of money, guys, to like nothing overnight. Right. And this is a point where I felt like all of a sudden, all the fears and all the challenges. I don't know if you've been so scared where you're not sure how you're going to provide for your family, right? How you're going to keep the lights on. And so I did what every good entrepreneur or commercial real estate or anyone who has a dream want to be, right? You get a side job and hustle, and you go and you move in with the relative, right? So I moved with my brother into a small condo with our baby. People telling me, what are you doing? Go get a real job. Like, well, you can't even afford healthcare. You can't do all these things. I'm like, but I really believe I'm going to make it big here, but I need to buy some time. So I work 60, 70-hour weeks. By nights, I work at Cheesecake Factory at a restaurant, and by day, I'd work at Marcus and Millichap. And there'd be times where I'd be cold calling people who wanted to sell their real estate, and they'd be in the restaurant. And I'm looking for like a $3 million listing to try to list, and they're over there, and they're in the restaurant. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it was rock bottom financially, but I think spiritually and character building and my journey with my wife, who was a rock star to support me and believe in me, we were able to learn a lot. And that's where I was going through this financial crisis, so was my clients. And my clients had bought real estate and they had overpaid, and they weren't diversified, they weren't liquid, and they were tied to the ebbs and flows of the big market crash, right? Which is not unlike why a lot of people, and why even myself and friends and family like the crypto world, where we don't want to be so indebted to banks and so indebted to having to go by what their rules are. And so I literally saw clients, friends, and family lose half or all of their wealth over a 3-year period of time. And the biggest thing that we identified was the fact that they were over leveraged, they had too much debt, not enough liquidity, right? And they felt trapped with what's called capital gains tax. You see, when they went to sell, they were faced with 30 to 50%, and we can talk about that here in a minute, of their gain being wiped out and being basically taxed by the government. And so they had to do something called a 1031 exchange, which essentially for your listeners is you can pick a property, it's an investment property, you can trade it for a bigger one essentially. And if you do it within this time period, you can defer tax, which is pretty cool. Kind of like an IRA, kind of like a 401k in some ways. But guess what? If you're just buying and overpaying, eventually if the music stops, you can lose everything. So we learned about the deferred sales trust. That moment changed everything. As I started to apply that knowledge to my client base, my business started to grow. I was able to retire from the Cheesecake Factory. 10 plus years later, I'm a commercial broker. And now we've done it and we proved it with the commercial real estate world. And now we're in the crypto world, and our vision is to change it forever. So no one ever has to feel trapped by not being able to sell high because of the capital gains tax.
So first of all, what school did you go to where you play basketball? Because you're talking to a basketball player in Bitcoin Zay right here.
Cool. Yeah, so I started out as a walk-on at Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego. It's a NAI school, private school. In fact, though, you guys are in LA, right?
Yeah,
you guys are in LA. We actually played Loyola Marymount my freshman year. And we won the game on an alley-oop, like last second, like dunk, like it was incredible. I was on the bench just cheering the guys on, right? I was a walk-on. I was a freshman. We were number 24 in the nation. Now, I went to Mesa Junior College my second year, right? And then my third year is when I got my scholarship to William Jessup University. It's a private Christian school up here in Rockland and Sacramento. It used to be in San Jose. And then, so that's when I finished my career. And it's a small private school, 6-foot white guy who could shoot and play ball. If I could play every day the rest of my life, I would. My knees wouldn't fall off, and my wife and 5 kids would let me do it. But that's one of my passions too.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Shout out to the walk-ons, baby. That's how we do it. Hey,
listen, when I transferred from a smaller school to North Carolina State. Long story short, the coach got fired. I had to walk on. I ended up getting a full scholarship, or I guess full for the last couple of years. But I also had to experience that walk on. I was like, so disrespectful. Y'all about to run me my money. All right, let's go ahead and get that out there now.
I love it.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. So you told us this story history, which is amazing, by the way, because commercial real estate, I mean, that's a whole show in itself. I learned some of those methods back in the day, as well as basically buying up so you can defer that tax. But you started to get into crypto. How did that transition happen? I mean, you see the writing on the wall. And you, even mentioning how, you know, you didn't know where you're going to get your meal from. I mean, we were in that situation 2018, 2019 during the bear market. It was a terrible time in crypto. So we definitely understand where you're coming from. So you build up this entire profile in real estate. What makes you say, hey, it's time to go over crypto and do it again?
Yeah, so there's really three perfect storms that are going on. I'm going to kind of give you guys a bigger macro, and then I'm going to dive into the micro on the crypto, okay? So there's three perfect storms. The first storm that's going on right now is the largest wealth transfer in the history of the planet is happening. It's according to the American Bankers Association. There's about $17 to $20 trillion that'll pass from the baby boomers, guys, our parents, right, to us in the next 20 years. And I want you to think about that. There's about 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every single day, okay? And then number two, there's about 77 million in the U.S. alone. And so this a massive amount of wealth, again, the largest that we know of in the history of the planet, is going to transfer. Okay, now 50% of that is tied into high-end primary homes, commercial real estate, and private equity or businesses, and an increasing number moving over to the crypto space, okay? They're looking for ways to diversify, get different wealth, right? But also they're looking to sell, but they feel trapped. In fact, they actually want to invest into crypto, but they have this big property. For example, we just sold a $7.9 million deal south of Santa Cruz. And this gal had owned it for over 25 years, and the basis was essentially almost zero, and she was faced with about a $3 million capital gains tax if she sold, right? Except for the deferred sales trust, she was able to sell, defer all the tax, and now diversify into multiple asset classes, okay? And so that perfect storm is happening right now. Okay, that's the first storm. Number two storm is a political storm, right? Right now, Biden administration is considering doubling the capital gains tax rate from 20 to about 40%. They're also considering taking away the stepped up basis. See, the government, they spend a lot of money, if you guys haven't figured that out yet, right? And they're running out of money, and they're having to tax more, right? And they're considering taking away the stepped up basis, right? Take away the 1031 exchange. There's all these proposals. We'll see if they pass. But the point is taxes are going higher. And the third storm is the economic storm. We're seeing all-time highs in real estate, stock market, even let's say in the crypto world, right? The last 5 months has been kind of a up and down. You guys know that better than me. But essentially what happened was in 2017, as I really started to get into it, right? I started to buy really light, guys, because I'm really been real estate focused. But my brother was knowing a little bit more about it, and I just started to dabble. Let's just put it that way, right? But I started to follow and just started to see the trends. And what basically we saw was that 2017, the huge run, and then like kind of like a crash, right? And so you're looking at this and you're going, wait, if this works for real estate businesses, and again, thousands of closes with the deferred sales trust, 25-year track record, billions under management, right? All the IRS audits, everything we can talk about. But if it works for real estate, it can work for crypto. But basically, we figured it could work for crypto, but there was really not a market because everything went down until about a year ago, right? Everything started to really hum back up again. And it came down to a client. I'm working with a financial advisor in San Francisco for the last couple of years, training her on this deferred sales trust because I train business professionals on how to do this deferred sales trust. And we sat down and she goes, yeah, I got a client. And they bought Ethereum. And they put about $100,000 over the last 5 or 6, 7 years, you know, and it's worth somewhere around $9 million. And they feel trapped. In fact, they thought about selling in 2017, but they did not sell because of the capital gains tax. And that is the same thing we hear over and over and over and over again, right? And so we said, great, let's sit down and meet with them. And so we did basically a 3-month due diligence. They with us with them, figuring out how we could help. And during that time, guess what? I go down, I sit down with them in Oakland. Like, finally, Brett, we've had 5 or 6 calls with you and the team and the tax attorneys. We got to meet you face to face, right? We got to make sure everything's legit, everything's protected. So I go and sit down with them face to face, get to know them and their family. And he's been in the tech world for 20 years. She's been an attorney. They have 2 kids, a dog, and they work, 50, 60, 70-hour weeks. They're really busy. And they got this Ethereum. And it was so funny. I asked husband and wife, and I asked his wife, and I said, hey, so what do you think about all this Ethereum and the run up and everything? She's like, he didn't tell me for the longest time. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, one day we sat down for it was like an anniversary dinner. He's like, I got something to tell you. And she was like, what happened? He's like, I bought some Ethereum and it's doing pretty well. And she's like, sell it all. And he's like, whoa. Like, let's talk about why I bought this and why it's an investment and why it's the future. And she's like, she wasn't really in the world. He was, right? So there's just kind of this dynamic. And I'm cracking up, but basically what she wanted was to be able to take some chips off the table, and so did he, right? He didn't want to take them all off at once, but again, this capital gains tax thing. So they planned to do it in 2017. They didn't have a solution for it. Everything didn't work. Fast forward, now they're ready to do it. And now we're in between this thing. But officially, I want to announce actually right here, this is the first podcast that I've been on publicly to announce this. We have actually closed the first deferred sales trust crypto deal. It's never happened before in the 25 plus year history, right? For this client.
Congrats.
Okay. Now it was a small amount. They have certain targets where they're going to be basically dollar cost averaging out, but we've officially done it. And by the way, this is taken about a 90-day period of time working with Kraken to all of the information. I mean, 70 plus emails back and forth, who we are, making sure we're not the terrorist group, making sure we're not this, making sure we're doing everything legal. And you know, all the pictures of everybody, even my wife had to take a picture because she's a part of my company, and then his wife and all of that, right? But the point of all of it is what it can do for them transformationally, right? Literally, we sat down like, Brett, what can we do with this? Well, I'm like, well, let's take a look at it. What is your income now? And they gave me their income. And I said, well, if you sell it at, and it went up to, by the way, about 13 million, about what, 3 months ago. Now it's, you know, it's back from like the $4,000 high to about, like you said, about 2,600. And we're hoping to get back up to those points. But he goes, at that point, I go, look, if you sell, you never have to work again. We can put it into commercial real estate. We can put it into stocks, bonds, mutual funds if you want to, cash flow producing assets. The point is we can diversify. We can also put some back into crypto as well, right? We got to diversify. There are some rules we have to play by on our end, right? We can't be too over concentrated in any single asset class. And that's going to change their life, right? The second thing they said they wanted to do is they said, we always want to buy like a cabin in Tahoe. Can we do that? I'm like, yeah. All tax deferred? Yeah. So we can sell at 13 million, defer about 4 or 5 million of tax, and then turn around and buy an investment property in Tahoe and rent it out for most of the year, and then go use it for our family too? Yeah. All tax deferred? Yes. And so that's what we do. So I'll pause there, guys. I know I'm saying a lot. I get really excited about these things.
No, I'm glad you are giving us this information. And I'm glad at the speed at which you're talking. I was like, oh yeah, you know how to do a podcast. That's what I'm talking about. Bitcoin's, I got plenty of questions. So I'll ping pong one of you right now.
Oh yeah. Well, I definitely wanted to ask, as far as, say one more time, the deferred, say one more time.
Sales trust, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, someone actually asked, what is a deferred sales trust? Not to cut you off, say my fault.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because I saw that too. Just describe it one more time in terms of crypto, because again, this is the first time it's ever been done, and we want our warriors to know what exactly they could do, because we have some people in the chat that are millionaires as well in crypto. So they may be thinking the same thing, like, hey, if I can do that. So if you can break down the steps for that.
Yeah, first of all, let me define who this is for, and then we'll talk about what it is, right? So that you know up front, like to spend your time and energy around to hear all this, right? So who this is for: anyone who has a single asset, and that means like a single coin, okay, just so you know, worth at least $1 million or more, and at least $1 million or more in gain, okay? That's what qualifies you for this, right? So if you have 100 coins at $1 million, it's not going to work because transactionally it's too small. So it's got to be like a single. Now, if you said, but I have 2 coins that are about $500,000 each and a $500,000, gain combined about $1 million, we can do that too. But that's our minimum. I want to make that very clear up front, because we do have people call us like, hey, I got like a portfolio of all these stocks and all this crypto. And it's like, it's got to be single asset. Why? Because of the transactional cost. This is not like just setting up an IRA and just doing this, right? This is takes a team of professionals to execute. Okay, so that's the first thing. So you gotta have the minimums. Okay. Second thing is a deferred sales trust is just an installment sale, okay? And so let's talk about what an installment sale is. It's based upon a tax code called IRC 453, which goes back to the 1920s, which basically means that, let's say King had a piece of real estate or a business or a coin that he could carry paper for, become the lender for a buyer. So let's say Isaiah wants to buy from King. Let's just keep it simple, a $10 million apartment complex in Los Angeles. And let's say King's owned that thing for 30 years. It's fully depreciated. So he has zero basis, or even say he bought it for, $100,000, but it's worth $10 million, right? Well, that's a gain there. And that gain's going to be taxed 30 to 50%, depending on what state you're in and depending on if it's been depreciation recapture. Crypto will be a little bit lower because you cannot depreciate crypto, right? So it'd probably be somewhere around, in California, to keep it simple, you got 20 plus 13 point. You're probably somewhere around 25 to 30, just depending on how you do that. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what we do is, instead of King taking all of the money up front and paying tax, he can say, I'll lend you the money, Isaiah, right? Mm-hmm. So on this $10 million sale, Isaiah, bring $1 down payment, and I'll carry back the rest of the money because I don't want to have to pay tax on any of the big money. And King would pay $1, he'd pay tax on that. Okay. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're setting up this trust though. And the difference is we're asking Isaiah to come with the full amount, the 10 million. And we're saying, King, sell it to the trust first. then the trust sells it to Isaiah. And so there's 3 parties involved. And because we do it in that order, King never actually takes what's called constructive or actual receipt. He's in a deferral state. Okay, a deferral state. And what Isaiah gets the property just like he wanted. He bought the property. And King gets a promissory note from the trust to pay him over time, which begs the question, well, how do I know it's going to pay me over time? And where and how can the funds be invested? What's the collateral, right? And this is where our company comes in, right? We actually are a third-party unrelated trustee of this newly formed trust, and we work with the financial advisors, the tax attorneys, to form this business trust that only does business with you. Everything's secure, protected. Nothing moves without your signature. You can put it into real estate. You can put it into different asset types. Okay, so all of that's there, but the key is it's deferred, meaning that time horizon expands. And the tax that you would have paid on that scenario, let's say you would have paid 30%, $3 million of tax on a $10 million sale. That $3 million is at a 0% interest charge from the government, but you can live off the interest. You can invest and make 5, 6, 10, 12% on the money, okay, and slowly get payments back, typically around 8%, okay? So that's kind of the long answer, that it's a tax deferral strategy. By not taking the cash up front, you can defer it and live off the interest. Now, unlike an IRA or a 401k or a 1031 exchange, the government wants to incentivize us to do the things they want us to do, which you might ask, well, what do they want me to do here? Well, they want King and Isaiah to sell their $10 million worth of Bitcoin at the high, diversify, invest it into the different assets such as apartment complexes. Those are my favorite, by the way. Get cash flow, produce housing for people, right? Produce taxes for them, right? Because some people go, well, isn't this kind of like, you're doing something weird with it with the IRS? No. IRS knows us. They've gone through it. They like it. It's like the same reason they do IRAs and 401ks. They don't want people putting money under their mattress. They want people spurring economic growth. So what can they do tax incentive-wise to do this? They can do the deferred sales trust.
That makes a lot of sense as far as why, one of the reasons why they're saying either pay us or reinvest your money into our economy. That does make a lot more sense.
Yeah. King, that apartment complex that I was talking about buying from you, we can do that now. So that $10 million complex you got, we can do that now. My man, Brett. Appreciate you, Brett.
Yeah, shout out to Lisa too, because Lisa also is a real estate professional, one of our in-house warriors. She's talked about this on a micro level as well. So here's my thing. We don't have to get deep into the regulatory side of it. I know that's like, you're like, hey, I'm a tax professional. They say taxes, I'm here to help. However, I have to ask, like, I don't even understand how the United States can come out and say, especially after they did not check Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase when he called Bitcoin a fraud in 2017, crashed the market essentially. That went unchecked. You know, it was okay for Bitcoin to be fraudulent for criminals and fake money. But the moment it hits its all-time highs in 2017, and then again, as of recent, taxes are in the conversation. And oh, by the way, in the interim of that time, like ourselves, our business ourselves, we were hacked for $30,000. You know, we filed an FBI report, never heard anything back from anybody, right? We took huge losses in 2018 and 2019 during the bear market, as did other crypto companies. Again, there was no respite for any of this. So my question is, how can the government even come out with taxing crypto when there hasn't been any help on the loss side of things? They only want to be here for the win. So to me, that's kind of confusing.
Yeah, that is a great question. And my understanding is crypto is, it's taxed because it's property, right? So it's just like if you bought a piece of real estate or, you have a business, it's an asset that's taxed as property. So if there's losses, my understanding is you should be able to harvest those losses depending on the year of which you've taken the loss against any other gains, right? And some of those losses should be able to carry forward as well, albeit only a percentage may be able to be used. So what we always say, right, and what you should do is not take this as tax and legal advice, but go to your professional and look at your specific situation and have them assess that. So by the way, I am a commercial real estate broker, right? That's where I started. That's what I still do as well. I am not a CPA nor tax attorney. You could say I'm a tax professional in that I've studied under some amazing people that are very smart, but we all work as a team here. And so also that's a good time to really kind of explain that. There's the There's a trustee, which is like me, right? Which is important, like King, even Isaiah, they can't be each other's trustees because they're too close. Even it's a friend, even it's a brother or whatever, right? Even if it's an employee, you got to have third party unrelated. So the government wants to make sure there's business purpose. There's all these things that are associated. There's a tax professional, tax attorney, CPA who does the legal work, who's faced the IRS. Then there's a financial advisor. But all three of them are for helping to build a dream team to help you execute on your plan. So I don't know if that answers the question fully, King, but yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, like it's a battle for the wealth of the people in the hands of the people versus it being in the hands of the government, right? And so this battle's been going on for forever, right? But it's so serious right now because again, remember the first storm, the biggest wealth in the history of the planet. So over the next 20 years, the question is where and how are funds being invested, with what groups, and who's going to control all of that, right? And the tax-wise is the way that the government can take control of that, right? Taking away the stepped-up basis, which is crazy. I want to make sure people understand what that means. Like, let's say you have 50 million of Bitcoin right now, right? And you bought it at, a million. You're all in for $1 million. It's worth 50, okay? Something crazy. Well, if you were to die right now, as it stands, a stepped-up basis means your kids could inherit that Bitcoin at a brand new $50 million basis at the time of death, whatever that was, meaning they could sell that Bitcoin and walk away capital gains tax-free. However, a proposal is on the line right now, which is going to state that they're going to eliminate the stepped-up basis, and which means it would trigger the tax at the death of parents, right, to their kids. So instead of getting a 50 million stepped-up basis, they get the old basis at $1 million, and not only that, they would say you'd have to sell it and pay the tax, which means the majority of that is going to go, or a big percentage of that is going to go to the government. So it's staggering to think about that, right? And so we're in a battle, but there's always really smart, sophisticated people who know the ins and outs of these rules. What we're trying to do is bring all of those sophisticated, smart things and get it into the hands of everyone who's listening to this, right? Again, you got to have $1 million net proceed, $1 million gain. I get that. I definitely don't have that in my crypto wallet, right? But also want to mention too right now, do not sell to cash or anything else until you have the trust set up. This is very important. Okay, so if you have a big gain and you sell it out into a wallet or you get rid of it and it goes to your personal, that means it's taxable, right? You have to keep it at the asset level and transfer it, which means we have to set up the trust prior to any transaction, okay, that you want to defer tax on. Okay, that's very important.
And I wanted to follow up with you where you were saying with the if you die and your kids get it. I just recently taught a Bitcoin summer camp, and all of the kids have Bitcoin. What are the tax implications for children? Because again, not even Bitcoin. Sometimes with other smaller coins like Ethereum, some of these
Dogecoin,
Dogecoin, all of these, as we already know, every time you swap crypto, that's a taxable event, so to say. However, because of the ease of access and the ability for kids to do it themselves, what are the tax implications for any kids under the age of 18?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I haven't even had that question asked to me before, and it's kind of crazy to think about. So I don't even really know the answer to that. Of course, they probably would look at like their income, and a lot of these kids don't have income. They're at school, they're doing whatever, right? So they would assess that. They would sort if it's either long-term or short-term gain, right? And so if it's short-term, that's typically taxed as ordinary income. Yep. If it's held for a year or more, that means it's qualified as long-term, then it can be subject to capital gains tax. So I don't think it changes anything because of your age, right? So if you're a 10-year-old and you made $100,000 in short-term, you're going to be taxed like you made $100,000 if you're 20. Like I don't think that doesn't change anything. It's just, I don't think it happens that often. So if you're listening to this and you're 10 or 12 and you're doing things, make sure you get with your parent's CPA and figure this thing out.
Hey man, I literally have a 12-year-old with a portfolio of crypto. So it's just
my kids are so smart, man.
Yeah,
like my 11-year-old, she's almost 11, and I mean she don't have the crypto yet, but I'm like, man, these kids are way smarter than I was at 11.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I mean, this is what I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I would say they'll move the needle a lot further because I think that group of kids, when they get into the place where they can make these tax laws or sort of change it, they'll think about that and say, hey, why was I paying taxes when I was 12? When I get older, I'm definitely not having that go through.
Exactly. And let's talk about why that is, right? So the money in the hands of the people, like we can hold it accountable, right? And we could give to the charities and the causes that we believe in, right? That are local, that are at home. The biggest challenge with me for our clients in taxes is a lot of these folks, and you can't necessarily blame them, they're 1,000 miles away, right? They're so far away, they don't know what's happening. So the more money that goes, away from our friends, family, clients, right, the less accountable the money is. And it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter what side you're on the aisle. They both waste it away for their special folks. So we want to, again, work on the regulatory framework, work on the laws, but use everything that's available to us, right, to defer tax, to keep the money in the hands of the people, get cash flow, get whatever it may be. For some people, it's like moving out of their house. Like we just did actually a deal in LA. Okay. She worked for the health inspector for 25 years. Okay. She lived in her house. She bought it for like 300 grand. It's worth like $2 million. She's single. She's on a fixed income. She's retired. She can't even afford the rent down the street. Right. She wants to move to Georgia with her son and her family, but she feels trapped in her house because of capital gains tax over like $400,000, which is the majority of her wealth. So a lot of people are literally sitting in their houses going, I wish I could move here or want to do this, but I'm faced with this huge tax. The transformation is freedom from this tax. She doubles her income. She goes from $4,000 a month to basically about $8,000 a month. She can move in with her son. Better than that, some of the funds can be invested into a private business. And you guys this is going to blow your mind. I'm hoping to bring him on your show one day too, by the way. He's in the crypto space, okay? And he's really smart in what he does. I can't even want to try to explain what he does. He's in the crypto space. He just emailed me yesterday. He's like, hey, can we get on a call next week to talk about it? His mom, by the sale of her house, is going to be able to fund his crypto business, startup business, all tax deferred, and living with Georgia and with him and the whole family. Like, it's transformational for multi-generations and multi-families because of this big tax, right? We got to follow where the money is and what it means for freedom. And if we can keep it on our side, and again, the government's still going to benefit because he's going to start the business and he's going to pay taxes on that and it's going to create jobs. And so it's not like, again, it's not one from the other, but it definitely is for us. We got to keep it on our side.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I think the regulatory framework definitely has to be cleaned up. Again, I see the importance of tax professionals, which is why we definitely wanted you to have on the show to represent your group, your Capital Gains Solutions group. However, I do think the government is going to eat themselves on this one because people are in the comments already mentioning like DeFi protocols and all that. I mean, it's literally already impossible to keep up with. But it's about to be impossible to keep up with so I don't even know how they're going to do it. I'm assuming they're going to go after the bigger fish. But with that being said, we have people in the comments. Hey, what about the shrimps? What about the people? Let's say, hey, I'm dealing with $10,000 or less in crypto. I made $9,000 this year in my crypto stash. I got $50,000. So the tax implications are the same for it seems like we said, if it's a 10-year-old who makes some money, it's the same tax implications. But how do they move? And is it, I guess, is it, of course it's worth it, legally, but yeah, how do they move, I guess, for people in that range?
Well, first of all, you always got to define your vision for your wealth. Whatever you're investing in crypto, real estate, securities, whatever the investments are, like define your plan for your wealth, right? Have a vision for that and then write on a piece of paper the ways and the tools to help you get to that place, right? And I like to give an example of the 1031 exchange for those who are in the real estate world, right? Your vision is to move and sell and buy bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And although with the deferred sales trust, you could sell and you can buy whenever you want. There's no timing restrictions. You can do it all tax deferred, right? And so if you have $10,000 of crypto, you got to say, well, where do I want this to be? Like, what does it mean if it gets to X? How can I turn it into cash flow? Whatever it's trying to do. I know for me, the way I try to build my wealth is to produce enough wealth passively that I never have to work actively ever again, right? Yeah. Grow it enough that passively it's earning enough interest that I never have to work ever again. And I can spend time with my family. I can spend time coaching my kids in sports. I can travel the world with my wife. We can do missionary trips over to different places that we believe in, want to help people out. Like, that is why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? To build the business and build the wealth. And then for you, what is it, right? It could be moving. It could be travel. It could be serving. It could be starting the new business that you always wanted to start, right? It could be I call it the go fund yourself. I had a client who just sold a deal in Alabama, business, $2.6 million business. And he sold and left two partners, and the two partners bought him out because he was ready for a new start. And his new business is building multifamily properties in Tennessee, all tax deferred using the trust as a partner. And so defining what your vision is, now, the tax part is tough. Again, if you don't have a good solution because it's too small, well, you might need to hold longer. You might need to invest more. You might need to go work that other side hustle, that side job at the new company, so that you're not putting 10,000 in, you're putting $1 million in, and that $1 million is turning into 2, 3, 4, right? Like the gentleman out of Oakland, for example, who bought the Ethereum for over 100 grand 5-6 years ago. I mean, that's 100 grand that I said, how did you do it? He said, I slowly dollar cost averaged into the investment, and I believed and understood the investment, right? So he had a conviction on Ethereum and the future of Ethereum, right? It was more than just investing. It was really understanding the future of it. And so when you can have certainty of conviction and you can pour on the why behind that, which is hopefully going to spur you creating more wealth on the side to invest into that particular coin. Again, turn that thing into more, right? And then again, we can help you if it's $1 million or more.
Well,
right? I wish we could do smaller deals. I really do. But there's no margin, there's no room. And again, let me explain that. The ROI has to be big enough, right? So our fees would eat up the savings. Right? I'll say again, what are our fees? We might as well talk about that. It's about 1.5%. Yeah, about 1.5% on the first million, and about 1.25 on anything above that. But to keep it simple, that's the one-time fee to the tax attorney. Then there's the ongoing fees, which is the management fees, and that's the about 1.5% or so, depending on where the funds are invested. Okay, and so let's say it's $1 million. On $1 million, and you would have paid, let's say, $300,000 of tax. So this is how we do the math. We say, okay, instead of paying $300,000 of tax, which is kind of like a fee, right? Yeah. Why don't you pay $15,000 one time? So now you're at $985, right? And you're deferring all that $300, and now you're investing it, and you're hopefully earning about 8 or 9 or 10%. Let's live off the cash flow, okay? Now on the ongoing fees, it's about $15,000 recurring, right? So that ratio has got to make sense mathematically, you know. So if you're selling a $10,000, and then the minimum legal fee typically is around $5,000 for even the legal team to do it. There's only literally one law firm. These are my business partners that do this. Okay, there's some copycats out there, but be very careful. Not every strategy is created equal. You want to make sure they face the IRS, they have survived the IRS, and in fact, we have a perfect track record with the IRS with actual clients that went through it. The person who did the surgery is the person who went to the IRS. So ongoing is about 1.5%. It's about 15 grand. So that ROI has got to make sense. And so we found that if it's too small, our fees just eat it up, and it's not a win-win for everybody. If that makes sense.
No, it does. And I actually think for those listening, this is why I think they're going to eat themselves because literally all we have to do is spam the network. The same thing you see with a DDoS attack against these platforms, do it to the IRS. They come after you for Bitcoin and crypto taxes. Start buying a bunch of different tokens and selling them all the same day. Let's play the game then. We're going to have 1 million different tax. I mean, it is going to be what it is. But somebody asked a great question. How is this going to work when people are starting to use these crypto exchanges debit cards? That's actually true. I'm going to sign up for a BitPay debit card. I guess the price is too high right now. They don't want new signatories on it. But yeah, let's say I got my BitPay debit card or MasterCard, whatever like that. And I'm putting crypto in there every week, and I'm using it to buy groceries and take care of emergencies. How does that work now?
The first time I heard about that, so I don't know, guys. That's a great question.
We're going to have you back.
Find that one out. You let me know, right? Like
we'll have you back on the show for sure.
I also too. I just going along with what we have to go today. The 51% attack. We have debit cards where it's taxable events, but then also say there's a 51% attack on the
That was my next question too, Zay. You took it.
Yeah, because I was just gonna say because we may not get to the story.
Go ahead, for sure.
In that scenario, yeah, because right now live, if you want to look, BSV is reported they're suffering a massive 51% attack. The chain has been split into 3 different chains.
Yeah, explain what that 51% attack means, please, Zay.
Absolutely. So what that means is when more than 51% of the computers that have the mining power, if they come together to attack the network, then they can. It takes a certain amount of money and a certain amount of time. The less secure your chain is, the easier it is to happen. We saw this with Verge a while back, and we saw this with a couple other protocols. So BSV, also known as Craig Wright coin, is going through a massive 51% attack. And if you want to see it live, hold on, let me pull this up, King, as far as the share.
And it's funny, we just talked about BSV the other day, and all the bots were in the comments talking about this is the coin of the future.
Yeah, the future of nothing. The Bitcoin SV network right now is under 50%.
Wow, it really says it.
Until this is resolved, it is advised not to accept any payments as they may be double spent. Because what can happen is if you take over the network with a 51% attack, you can double spend funds, which is the problem that Satoshi solved with Bitcoin. So 51% attack happens, your coins are basically wiped out. If there is some possible way to recover it, maybe somebody recovers it, what happens with the tax implications there? Is it tax-based, if somebody can move it back and forth? Maybe somebody bought BSV earlier. Do they harvest tax losses based on the 51% attack? Because one strategy I've heard somebody say is, if there's a small coin and if somebody's like, hey, I want to, get rid of it, they can just 51% attack it, but they also wouldn't have to pay taxes on it. So I've heard that before, and I just want to know, like, what exactly would happen in that scenario.
So I definitely know all the particulars about the 51% attack, but what I could say is if you can demonstrate to the IRS that you have a loss, right? Demonstrate that, right? So make sure that whatever, with Blockchain, Kraken, Binance, right, Coinbase, whatever you're using, like, make sure you can track these things and you demonstrate that. That's really what it comes down to. Like, so if you can show, hey, I bought it for X and I took a loss of Y, and here it is. That's how I would understand it. I don't think the IRS is going to understand more than that. And at least right now, they're going to say, what'd you buy it for? What'd you take the loss on? Demonstrate that. Okay, that's what it is. Does that make sense?
No, that does. And to me, that's why I say I think, I'm sure you've seen this too with audits. Usually, the more money you make, the higher your chance of an audit, essentially, especially when it's coming from different sources and all that good stuff. I think right now, early on, this might be the same thing we see in this area, whereas, yeah, if you can demonstrate a loss, IRS is going to be like, all right, oh, you don't got no money? Hey, get out my face. I don't got time for this. Like, we want big players. But on the flip side, I do get it if it's like, hey, you've been using Coinbase for 4 or 5 years. They submit all your information. IRS is like, whoa, you've been pulling in $200,000-300K a year and you haven't been saying anything to anybody, and you've been selling this every year. Like, I kind of get as where they're going right now, at the very least. And again, we're with the government. We definitely don't want money to get in the hands of quote unquote the wrong people. It's just such a convoluted market right now. Even going to the fees, like, I understand why you all only take higher accounts. Like, sometimes some of the people we deal with, or we've seen people deal with in the space, is always higher because it's just not worth the stress, the time invested, or there's no money to be made if you're dealing with smaller accounts. But the majority of the population who is actually in crypto are the smaller accounts. So this is where it's kind of going to get crazy here, I think, in the next couple years as crypto does become more prolific. So also talking, so let's see, I want to get one more for sure thoughts from you as we get into one last story before we get you out of here. What is it? Binance to bring Bitcoin payments to Shopify via new partnership. Binance Pay users, it looks like here, let me bring it up. Binance Pay users will be able to pay across merchants of Alchemy Pay's partners, including e-commerce giant Shopify and software technology firm Arcadia. So this we kind of saw with the Dallas Mavericks. Mark Cuban said, hey, we accept Dogecoin for jerseys now. Different companies are now accepting crypto. I know Newegg accepts Bitcoin payments. Are there tax implications when you use your Bitcoin or crypto, I guess, to buy things or on these different platforms? Do you still see that same implication? Let's say if it was $1 million account and they're buying a car using crypto, right? They're buying a house using crypto. Would you need to still go through that capital gains tax process, or would you kind of defer it, as you already kind of mentioned at the beginning of the show?
I think it's the former, right? So if you're going to be basically converting it into something other asset, it's going to be looked at as if you deem the cash, and therefore you're going to have to pay the tax, right? So remember these tax incentives, especially it pertains to personal property, right? So understand too that the deferred sales trust and the 1031 exchange and IRAs and 401ks, these are all part of the IRS tax code. There's IRC 453, IRC 1031. And basically they want to spur economic and business growth, which means it's not for personal stuff. So if I'm going to buy a personal car, a primary home, or just go spend the money on entertainment or whatever, right? The government's getting, you know what? We're not going to hold that tax deferred. Just go ahead and pay the tax and then go spend your money. But if you spur economic growth for the greater good, right, for more jobs and more tax revenue and more housing, this is part of why real estate, by the way, is so incentivized in commercial real estate for tax implications, because housing, guess what? We're in the biggest crisis of housing, especially California, guys. You know it, right? It's crazy, right? So they've got to incentivize the people developers, real estate investors to build and create housing for people to live in. If we don't have housing, I mean, that's the basic necessity of life. So they say, okay, what do we need and what do we want? Well, we want housing, we want jobs, we want businesses. Great. Let's incentivize the people to go do that by giving them tax incentives. They can't force us to build housing, but they can give us tax incentives to do that. So the answer to your question is, it's likely to be taxable. They're not going to allow someone to trade into something personal. By the way, I think we talked about audit stuff before. I want to let you know that there's audit protection built into every single deferred sales trust, meaning 100% no cost audit protection. It's part of your one-time fee with the tax attorneys up front, state or federal. The biggest audit ever was a $125 million deal in San Diego. Okay, so this has been tried and true. It has a perfect track record, and there's lifetime audit defense, and it's yeah. So you can sleep well at night on that one.
All right, Bitcoin. I'll let you get the last one off because I do want to respect Brett's time. I know you're a busy man.
Yes, sir. Yep. So just to finish off, in the crypto market, we have again kids who use crypto. We have the metaverse where people are buying goods with NFTs. We have airdrops. We have 51% of tax. We got crypto debit cards. A whole lot of innovation. Do you think, Brett, there should be a separate tax document just for crypto so that it addresses the technology portion of it? Because it's kind of outdated compared to what crypto is. Do you think there should be a separate, completely different tax write-up for crypto?
Yeah, as far as my understanding, I think clarity is better than anything else, right? And the biggest thing is you have this, let's say 70,000 page IRS tax code, right? And they've done a little bit a couple of years ago on how they classify it. And you're going, so we're in the wild, wild west trying to figure this thing out. And we're going, what do you want me to do? What don't you want me to do? How should I do it? And yeah, I think they should come up with even more clarity and whatever you call it, separate or in addition to these things, so people know what to do and don't feel like they're going to get caught on something that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. And I'm sorry I lied, but this last one because a great question came in. There's a new project coming out, essentially where you can sacrifice your cryptocurrency toward with the hopes of maybe receiving something back, but it's possible you wouldn't get anything back as well. So somebody essentially just made a joke, say, hey, I just sacrificed all my crypto to this project, which actually some people are actually doing. They're sacrificing their entire stash to this one project that's coming out. If that were to happen and the project fails, would that just be a loss on the capital gains, as we mentioned, and then vice versa? If it succeeds, you do make a lot of money on it, then boom, when you pull that out of that project, then that will be a capital gains tax. Is that kind of how that may work?
So you got to establish basis plus gain, right? So let's say you had Ethereum, and by sacrifice, I'm not sure how you would pertain that into is that a loss? Is that a gift? Is it going to charity? Is it you just giving it to somebody? And if it's a gift, there could be tax implications there. So I'm not sure that I understand fully what the nature of sacrifice means. So you want to define that. Then the second thing would be, well, this, whatever the new project or coin or whatever it is, business, venture, real estate, now you establish a new basis that you went in at, right? So let's say you sell, $100,000 of Ethereum and you sacrifice it, you gift it, figure out what that means tax implication wise. Now you're in this new thing at $100,000, right? That's your new basis, and it goes to $1 million, right? Okay, well now you've got a basis and you got a gain, and if you sell there, then you got a tax. So making sure you're dotting your I's and you're crossing your T's on your basis and your gain, and when you're making these trades, you got to make sure you have a really good solid ledger and you're tracking these things. Because by the way, this is interesting. The one thing that the government has in the law, if they do an audit, you know how it's innocent until proven guilty on everything else, guys? Mm-hmm. It's actually the reverse on audits. So they come to King and Isaiah and Brett and they say, hey, guilty, prove me that you're innocent. That's the one place, taxes, right? This is very important. This is why you want to take this very seriously, that you are guilty until proven innocent. So they come to you and say, King, you did this sacrifice project thing. You owe us, 40%. Prove me wrong. And you're like, well, I don't know. Prove me wrong, right? It's not, hey, innocent, and then we need to take you to court and prove you guilty. It's the one thing that they have the power to do. Okay. So make sure, does that make sense? Any questions on that one?
It does. That actually answers it very well. And the way you explain it in general, that explains it as far as I won't go as far as say good faith, because like you said, you're innocent or you're guilty until proven innocent. But I do see the basis of which the IRS are going after people and how the government sees things. Essentially, if you're not helping spur the economy by paying off the government or by reinvesting your money, then you will be a target. Essentially, if you are paying off that money to the IRS or reinvesting it with a company like yours, deferred sales, then I do get that in general what they're looking for. Again, Brett, we do want to respect your time. Thank you for being on. We definitely appreciate it as well.
Do you want me to share my website where people can find me?
Oh, yeah, of course. Listen, I'm still thinking about some of the things you said live as well. Tell us where we can find you, Brett. Everything. Tell us where we can find you, your company, Twitters, all that good stuff. Share it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, King and Isaiah, for having me. So you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Very simple. You can search it on YouTube, search it on iTunes, Spotify. You can also search Brett Swarts. I've been on a bunch of shows, right? If you just search my name inside of iTunes, I've been on a ton of shows. You can hear from different perspectives, financial advisors, commercial real estate, business folks, leadership. I had Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank on my show the other day, which is pretty cool. We're
love Mr. Wonderful.
So not Mr. Wonderful. He's Kevin in the middle, and then there's Mark Cuban in the first.
Oh, the other Kevin. Okay, yeah.
Kevin Harrington. He's on the far other side on the show, and you're looking at it. And so yeah, we're coming out the book, and we're here. We're here for you. We do no cost consultations. Again, if it's $1 million more net proceeds and $1 million more of gain on a single coin or a single asset. Again, it works for primary homes, businesses, LLCs, S corps, partnerships. It works for, of course, commercial real estate. It can save a failed 1031 exchange. Of course, we've done our first crypto deal, and we're here to serve and help everybody. Appreciate that. And yeah, there's
the right site right here, Brett.
There's the website. Yep, Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Yep, sell and break out of capital gains tax jail, one deferred sales trust at a time. And so I would love to help you out if we can.
Are you also on Twitter for people to find you?
Yeah, we're at Twitter. We're at 1031 option. Right, or at Brett Swarts, BRETTSWRTS, and if you, but yeah, at 1031 option. That's kind of a play on the
on the tax, yeah, for sure.
On the tax thing.
No problem. I'm putting all this in the chat box as well, people. So if you're listening, just check out the chat box. I just put Brett Swarts' name in there so you can spell it. You can also see it on the screen. For those listening, that is Brett, BRETTSWARTS. And again, for those listening, that website is capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Again, that will be in the chat box as well. And Brett, again, thank you for being on the show today. This was certainly a pleasure. You answered a lot of great questions. Yeah, shout out. Listen, we're anti some of this stuff, so it was a big deal to have you on for our viewers, because they ask all the time about taxes, and we're like, look, we are the last people to ask about taxes. We will point you in the right direction, so you won't die of thirst, but we don't have the water.
Well, it's been a pleasure, guys. Yeah, Isaiah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, appreciate it.
All right, thanks again, Brett. Take care, and hopefully we can have you back on soon when you get some more updates for us.
Exactly, absolutely, we'll do. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, cheers.
Okay, bye now.
And Bitcoin Zay, I do not know your schedule today. I'll stay on longer to cover the stories. If you're free, cool. But if not, let me know.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. We'll jump into it. Again, shout out to Brett Swarts, Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Really cool to have him on and to hear his thoughts as well. And also here is his LinkedIn right here, folks, for those who want to add him on LinkedIn, maybe message them that way. Of course, also on Twitter, as he just said. And of course, the website also. I mean, I would say the good thing for people out there is that the call is being answered from professionals out there. They do know crypto taxes are convoluted, but as we can see, the call is being answered. They're trying to figure it out. Of course, this isn't professional advice, but listening to Brett and kind of knowing what we know about the market and how they audit, again, if you're a smaller fish, there may not be that much to worry about right now, right? I'm not saying for certain, but to me, it does seem like the IRS and the government are definitely going after the bigger fish, especially if you can prove a loss. I mean, God forbid, but there it comes. I'm gonna be like, look, 2018 loss, 2019 loss, 2017 big hack. Like, listen, let's get into it then. If anything, government come our way, they might owe us some money when we get done with that.
Exactly.
Hey, I owe us 50, 60K.
I grew up poor. My mom put my name on stuff. My credit started off bad. Hey, I want to harvest all these tax losses.
Right. Nappy wasted. Oh, snap. Extended show. You know what that means? Thursday off, baby. No,
you know what that means? How did you get it?
Oh, man.
Nobody knows gonna be here.
Yes.
Shout out to Cox, the only Canadian I trust to sing.
Listen, that was a great start to the show. We're gonna hop into these stories so we can talk about this before we head on out of here, folks. Again, we already mentioned, of course, BSV suffering that 51% attack live. Bitcoins, that was crazy. You actually pulled that up.
Happening live. It's literally happening live.
Listen, BSV. Let's pull it up one more time, actually. Let's pull up that chart one more time if you can. We're just gonna briefly gloss over it. Folks, the 51% attack is happening. You learned what it is today if you didn't already know. This is why we keep telling you not to fall for the crap coins. Literally, we mentioned Craig Wright as far as winning that lawsuit and Bitcoin.org having to take the white paper down and all this other stuff about BSV being a bunch of bullshit. I think that's what it stands for.
Yeah, more like
bullshit
Craig
volume coin. But after we talked about that story, we had his bots in the comment section, as we always do on Twitter and everything. All the Twitter fingers and everybody was talking about how Craig Wright's the real Satoshi and BSV was a great project. Well, guess what? Your great project is officially dead. Dead, I tell you. Dead, all of them. This is crazy to see, though, huh?
Oh, yeah. More like Craig wrong. This whole project was shit from the beginning. Somebody seriously trying to destroy BSV. This is one thing that you have to remember. People working on Bitcoin are some of the smartest people in the world. Craig Wright has threatened to sue these exact people. I'm pretty sure they figured out a way, like, we're just going to destroy your project and all your credibility with it. Because I don't know, hey, this is allegedly, but I'm just saying, literally, the smartest people in the world are working on Bitcoin right now. So if you come out and say, I'm going to sue all the Bitcoin developers so that you all can pay me, I'm pretty sure they're not going to take that lightly. And they may have a few friends, hey, a little nudge, a little wink and a gun. And next thing you know, 51% attack on BSV. So yeah, it's pretty much the end of Craig Wright's career. Calvin Ayre, no more little girls for you, buddy. So it's over for that as well.
So for a little 4chan action, somebody went on that forum was like, hey, go ahead and do what y'all do best. The most important part I want to remind you all, here's the thing, people. BSV, like many others, hey, Crypto Kenzie, thanks for the tip as well. Spank them likey for not paying them thugs and gangsters. For sure. One thing you have to remember, and I think this is another good example. We talked about Burge back in the day. There's been so many 51% attacks from popular coins. Everyone keeps talking about their coin is the next best thing, right? We were talking about Cardano yesterday. Of course, we did make that clickbait title. And shout out to the Warriors who are on Twitter actually reaching out to Cardano team. Like, that's what we're talking about. People like, thank you, Warriors. You all have been reaching out to some of these people for us. We appreciate the help. It's only, I won't say it's only two of us. We do have a team now, but that's not their job to do that. Their job is to make sure the show is up and running and you are getting quality content. But we definitely appreciate you all reaching out so we can have these people on the show and talk about them. But with some of these next coins that are supposed to be the next big thing, the next big whatever, you have to remember, A, they haven't had to scale, and B, the hackers don't know about it yet. As soon as hackers find out about some of your next best projects, the next best coins, and all this money wrapped up into it, now they have a reason to actually go after it. Right now, a lot of projects, there's no reason to go after it. It's just super early. But that doesn't mean that there aren't any exploits and these hackers won't go after. So we just want to remind you that just because the thing's the next best coin, remember, a lot of these projects are still in beta. You are still an early adopter. You're one of the first people in some of these projects. So that is why you're getting the reward of the 100-time returns or the 50x's and all this crazy returns you hear about. You're getting those returns not because you're the genius of it, it's because you're in the project early, right? At the same time, once that project matures and those returns start to slow down and go a little smaller and smaller and smaller, that's also around the same time the hackers are saying, oh, this thing is prime for the taking. So BSV was around, what, 2 years now, 3 years?
Yeah, I should have asked Brett while he was here with the 51% attack, if I got airdrop BSV,
that's right,
and you never sold it, is that a tax loss? Because 51% attack essentially renders it useless. And if it was a one-to-one snapshot of the Bitcoin you had, like, it's just, the rules are so outdated. We can go down this rabbit hole forever. Cross-atomic swaps, DeFi, NFT-Fi. We can go into so deep in this rabbit hole that they basically need this market to just progress for 10 years.
They have to, right? They need the market to mature every day.
Yeah, exactly. Just come back later and come up with rules based on what's happened. Because remember, again, ICO market. They're just now coming out and saying ICOs are securities. And what was that, 4 years ago? Gary Gensler is the first person to really start pushing that narrative. So again, bureaucracy takes time, and a lot of the rules that we've had in the past are so outdated you don't realize it until something new comes along, which is crypto. So it's definitely blowing those rules out the water.
Like I said, people, if the IRS comes after you, spam their ass. Literally, the moment you get that letter, just start buying and selling every day, all day. Fine. You know what? I gotta pay y'all. We got taxable events. We about to have some. Hey, we all working
taxable events, baby.
And with that being said, far out aliens. I actually have to disagree with you. Far out aliens says the IRS goes after the low hanging fruit, i.e., the smaller fish. Not really. They go after, no offense to the people who this is about to pertain to, but kind of you deserve it too. They go after the dumb people, low hanging fruit. What I mean by that is, yes, I know someone before who started claiming 3 kids who are 9 years old the first time he claimed the kids on his tax reports. Like, yeah, they went after his ass, and he had get audited for like 3 to 5 years after that. And it was all over like an extra $7,000 or $8,000. But that's because he had a 9-year-old kid on his tax return for the first time ever at the age of like 22 or something, or 21. So yeah, they go after the jackass low-hanging fruits. But by and large, I have to disagree with that because it's, as I just said, if they go after a low-hanging fruit and they just do what I said, start buying, selling, and swapping all day, every day, it's too much. It's just not worth the take. The IRS wants to make sure when they go after you, they can actually bring home some money to the government to say we didn't waste taxpayers' money. So I will say that, but also Far Out Alien said Craig just got 51% of tax Satoshi. And Rodney Fury said, if I hacked a wallet and saw BSV in it, I give it back. Hilarious. All right. Another top story of the day. This is actually a huge story. Google is running crypto ads again as new policy goes into effect.
Nice.
I could say some mean things about this. I'm not going to, because whatever. I need to be on Google's side. We need to be on Google's side on this one. They got the juice. They walk around the halls, push people in lockers. Hey, unless you're going to square up with them right now, you got to respect it. So under Google's new policy, which went into effect on August 3rd, advertisers offering cryptocurrency exchange and wallet services are once again allowed to market their products. Here's the only messed up thing about this, people. For one, so if you didn't know, it was like basically a 2 or 3 year ban, which we'll get into, on all ads across Google, which of course includes YouTube as well, because Google owns YouTube. The only exception to that, as you can see, are exchanges and wallets, i.e. Coinbase, i.e. the Gemini, basically everyone who's working with the government, or these hosted wallets. You remember the government came out with that word, unhosted wallets, which is essentially your own private wallet that they dislike now. They only want you to use exchange wallets from centralized exchanges. These are the only people allowed to advertise. So again, it kind of goes about this like little Twitter spat I had yesterday with another weirdo. But people are like, why do you guys use this or that or another? And it's like, because it's what's being pushed out to the masses. To re-educate the masses as soon as they come on the show is incredibly difficult, which is probably why all these people who talk shit on Twitter don't have a YouTube, because they don't even understand that pain point of a process of education. But it's crazy to see this, and it's very important to note that the next ads you're going to be seeing here in the next few months will only be from centralized exchanges. That's for all wallets, and that's for exchange. So don't expect people to hear about this private wallet or doing things DeFi or doing this. No, the only thing they're going to be flooding the masses to, they're literally trying to pipeline masses to places like Coinbase. What else is going on with this story?
Oh man. So again, we saw back in June 2018 when they initially banned it, and the ICO market was going crazy. We said it back then. Google banned it, Facebook banned ads. We said it at the time. They just banned it to figure out what's going on, and then they're going to come back and allow you to do it. They just want to make their money off of it. But they did weed out a lot of the trash, so to say. However, they got rid of everybody at first, and then they're trying to slowly bring people back. But over time, you have to respect Google. They got the money. I mean, $147 billion in advertising revenue. Yeah, and everybody wants to use Google because everybody uses Google. So once you centralize the power to one person, they really do have it. So if they want to ban ads, cool. But they just came back August 3rd. And we just started really pushing out our marketing for the course. So this is actually good timing for us both. And also, if you look at whenever they ban ads or whenever they start banning stuff, usually a buy signal. It's a good time to probably jump into the market. So good to see they bring it back. And I can only imagine how many companies have been sitting on the sidelines waiting. I'm
about to pull a Stephen A. Smith, or as some people call him these days, Stephen A. Snitch. What was you doing at them high schools, boy? But anyway, we're doing them high school and colleges, boy.
Them colleges, boy.
Yeah, but regardless, first of all, Google, hey, like I said, I love Google. Who doesn't love Google, right? You can search the internet. They do so many great things. Shout out to Google on YouTube. Hey, I mean, essentially, we've been getting paid by Google the last few years as well. On the entertainment side, I've actually modeled and stuff where I can't talk too much about it, but I've done things with Google and stuff as well in Hollywood. So shout out to Google. I mean, listen, they have definitely put food on the table, so I'm not mad at them. But to keep it real, let's not lie. Crypto ads are big, way bigger. Listen, people, you see how many sponsored advertisements we're starting to do. You really think crypto advertisement isn't big? It's huge, all right? It is super huge. So for Google to kind of throw out there, oh, this is going to be a drop in our bucket. No, if it was just a drop in the bucket, they would not bring the ads back. It wouldn't be worth the stress from the government. So for one, let's be honest and truthful here. It is not just a drop in the company's $147 billion in advertising revenue. It is right now because you haven't allowed anybody to do it for the last 3 years, which would make that statement true. I'm in PR. I know how to make statements true. But as soon as you start again, it will not be a drop because crypto companies are like really Sam Bankman-Fried, a 28, 29-year-old is up $20, $30 billion in the span of 2 or 3 years. And you're telling me that's going to be a drop in the bucket? Stop playing. It's not. They're saying that as it's been a drop in the bucket because they weren't allowed to advertise. So let's make sure we're clear on that. There's not a bigger industry as far as wealth-wise than cryptocurrency, which is why everybody's trying to slow it down. Right now, it might be bigger industries as far as the volume or the money involved, but at the rate of growth, crypto's only 12 years old. There is no other industry 12 years putting up the same number. So let's not act like, oh, crypto won't be that big. No, it's going to be a huge deal. I also want to point out, again, who's allowed to advertise. Google's strict requirements are designed to weed out, again, they're trying to protect you, weed out shady advertising and blatant crypto scams. Advertisers must be registered with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network as a money services business with at least one state as a money transmitter. Do you know how much it costs for these licenses? So
$250,000 for that money transmitter license.
You need to put up at least $250,000 for these licenses just to be able to advertise with Google now. So again, crazy. Again, and last but not least, the firm will not allow ads for ICOs, decentralized finance trading protocols, which is crazy. I kind of agree with because some of these DeFi protocols are rug pulls, but also why not? Or the promotion of purchasing, selling, or trading cryptocurrencies, of course, unless it's by the likes of Coinbase or some of these other wallets, crypto.com. Again, this makes no, they're saying you can't do it, but the main people who are going to advertise are actually doing this. Celebrity crypto endorsements are also banned. I'm with that, which may help in part with issues surrounding fake celebrity endorsements. Again, this is Google rules. It's a private company. They can do what they want. It's just crazy to see this is how they're going to be moving, but it is what it is.
And if you don't like it, just use Brave and DuckDuckGo. We got options now. So yeah, it is what it is, but we also have options.
There it is. All right, no more lengthy wallet addresses. Send USDC to username.coin. Being able to use a simple username akin to a Twitter or Instagram handle may make sending crypto payments more like sending an email or text. How can they do this on the tech side, you say? Well, Bitcoin Zay is going to explain to us why they actually can.
Oh, yeah. So the reason that they can do this is these human readable addresses allow you to basically display your name, which makes it easy for people to send it to you using a readable.coin username. As part of the arrangement, USD transfers, they say, will be like sending an email so they can get rid of the process of sending coins to the wrong address. Because people that are not so tech savvy, they send it to the wrong address all the time. Commenting here, CEO Matthew Gould says, simple usernames combined with dollar peg stable coins take the fear and risk out of spending crypto, which is very important because there are people who have started to realize, I don't want to go back to banks at all. I can just move back to a stable coin. Of course, you have to trust them as a third party, but if you have this combination of the username and you can send funds to them, it'll be basically like a different PayPal. Just with a different stable cryptocurrency. So for people who don't even want to go back to the banking industry, if you use USDC, you can stake it for like 8%, send it back and forth to your grandma who's, can put her name, grandma.coin, and send it to her. So it's a lot easier of use. And I think that this is actually good for people who don't actually want to hold their own wealth. There are people who want to get in crypto and flip it in and out, but they're not very concerned with holding their own wealth, of being self-sovereign. So to say they just want to get out of banks and maybe just move money around. So good to see there. But on the flip side of it, as far as the regulation, it is Circle. and it is USDC. So it's not as if KYC isn't involved. If they don't, like, it's not like they don't know you moving money. So a little bit of a difference there is just not attached to banks.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I've seen some great comments coming in as well. Someone said, PD said, I smell Google crypto coming soon. This was like, again, this to me is, maybe it was a lack of knowledge. And again, I never had $1 billion, so I don't know how I feel. You know, maybe once you have $1 billion plus in cash, you're like, no, you don't get it. You protect the establishment. This is where the money's at. So I could get it from that part. But again, you've also seen billionaires swap over to the crypto side or do a combination of both. And I say that because, yeah, I don't understand why Google, Facebook, like, let me have been in charge of these companies. Like, we would have already launched the whole crypto thing. Like, we would have launched stable coins, crypto products. We are the new government starting today. Like, it would have happened overnight. So again, God don't make mistakes. He got the right people in the right places because he's like, yeah, we don't need your ass in charge of Google with 147 billion at your fingertips trying to change the way we're doing business. So yeah,
we would have the United States of Google. If that was me, we would have my own country if I had 147 billion sitting.
Exactly. All right, let's see. What's going on, Sis, Yaya, MJ, Rodney Fury, Rashu. Yes, Rashu said Doge ads booming on YouTube for the past few months. Exactly. There were some workarounds. We saw a few crypto influencers with ads. I have no clue how they made it happen. Well, I have an idea, and that's probably why some of these channels, these random channels you keep seeing getting banned or whatever, they're doing stuff on the back end. That's also how they're growing so quickly. That's what I'm going to say, people. Like, some of these channels that have grown, who have started a year or two, 3 years later from us, but have grown very quickly, are doing things on the back end that are, I won't say shady, because these are all business owners. At the end of the day, they're just trying to advertise their channel and stuff. But per the user terms and agreements and rules of some of these platforms like Google, YouTube and stuff, they aren't following those rules. They're figuring out ways to reword stuff, and it's working for them. I'm not mad at it, but that's also why some of these platforms you are seeing sometimes get shadow banned, or they get turned off, or they lose followers, because like Google's like, hey, it's time to pay that like tax, baby. All right, we already talked about it, but briefly, Binance to bring Bitcoin payments to Shopify via new partnership. Binance Pay users will be able to pay across merchants of Alchemy Pay's partners, including e-commerce giant Shopify and software technology firm Arcadia. This is a very interesting move, especially as Binance is starting to be banned in different countries around the world. Countries are going after it. How is this going to work for them if countries are going after it at the same time?
Well, it just seems as though Binance is moving forward with things they already had in the works. Even if they have people coming after them, they can't control that. But because they have the partnership, they just announced it. I'm sure they've been working on this for months, even before. So they have this crypto fiat hybrid payment platform, Alchemy Pay, and these peer-to-peer payments, that's really what it is. Binance, of course, they are a part of it, but it's really Alchemy Pay that's doing this right here. And again, 40 supported cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Ether, in 18 countries where Alchemy Pay operates. Binance Pay users will be able to pay across merchants of Alchemy Pay, which includes Shopify, Arcadia, QF Pay, and others. So that's really the big thing here, is Alchemy Pay being able to allow that. And they actually have their own Ethereum-based token, Alchemy Pay. Right? Exactly. ACH price rising more than 1,600% over the past 14 days. So like I said, this is more about Alchemy Pay than anything. And the partnership with Binance basically just expands the applications that they build, the bridge between the crypto and fiat world. So, Binance can get it done even while getting scrutinized, because again, I think they've been working on this for a while.
Yeah, these deals don't happen overnight. With you. And I mean, it's not just Binance, of course. Gemini partnered with Flexa. They got the AMP. So this is a new wave too. This is the new bag where all these companies like, hey, we got the peer-to-peer trading thing, we got lending or whatever. Oh, and we got this underlying token underneath too. So this, I think, will be the short-term future of crypto as people go from peer-to-peer, buy the bag. And essentially, as people buy these bags and switch bags, let's not forget what we just learned about capital gains tax. This may be a way for exchanges and companies in the crypto sector to say, hey, instead of having to pay or owe some type of tax, we're going to diversify out into a peer-to-peer lending platform. Or I'm going to buy a $29 billion bank, whatever platform. Like, they're essentially buying up all these platforms, and that's deferring their taxes as well, especially when you're talking about the billions of dollars. This may be a respite for some of these big platforms. And also, I want to shout out to CZ. at the end of the day, people, CZ is a person in the, he's really been a part of the crypto community, keyword community. So I'm not even like, I know we've been giving Binance a hard time. It is what it is. You can't access your funds on exchange, and we have to give you a hard time. But also, I do see how they're trying to circumvent the government as much as possible. And I can only imagine the type of immense pressure. I mean, in 2 years, you became a multi-billionaire, one of the biggest platforms on the planet. People come knocking at your door. I understand you're trying to fight and party at the same time. You're trying to fight and spend your money. That's real difficult to do. You can't be at a club when it's beef, period. I don't know where y'all from, but when the beef is up, you need to stay your ass at home or you need to be laying in a bush 24/7. It ain't no in between. So CZ is stuck in the tough spot where he's trying to live his normal life, but at the same time, world governments are coming after him. So
get out the club, Calvin.
Go ahead.
Get out the club, Calvin. You already know. You already know Alpo in here. Why you here, Al? Why you here, Calvin?
You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen. I'm not even gonna get into it.
It's Kermit the Frog looking. It's Kermit the Frog looking.
Hey, look, you can't be out here when this beef is up like you normal. What's wrong with y'all? You got your Instagram location on?
Hey, shout out to Ice
Twitter, all these Twitter warriors out there. Listen, exactly. I can't wait to F Bitcoin Friday this week. I really want to talk to some of these Twitter people face to face. Like, what are y'all thinking with some of these tweets? Are you crazy in real life? All right, let's see. Last but certainly not least, Nakamoto's innovation is real, says SEC Chair Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler describes Satoshi Nakamoto as an important innovator in cryptography and that their innovation spurred the development of crypto assets and the underlying blockchain technology. Now, shout out for Gary Gensler for shouting out Nakamoto, but I'm not falling for the honeypot just yet. You guys, listen, you got to do more than paint Black Lives Matter on Hollywood Boulevard. I need to see some policy and some bills actually go through. I don't want to just see you give a shout out, but tell us about this shout out. At the very least, thanks SEC Chair for shouting out Nakamoto.
Oh, yeah. So SEC Chair Gary Gensler, a.k.a. Franklin the Turtle, describes Satoshi Nakamoto as an important innovator in cryptography that spurred the development of crypto assets and the underlying blockchain technology. He is a former professor at MIT. He did teach about Bitcoin back in 2011, I believe. And his key to it, I think, was, of course, to teach about the future of finance. But when he says, I really do think there's something real about the distributed ledger technology moving value on the internet. In my opinion, what I think he's done is he's seen Bitcoin, he's tried to figure out why it wouldn't work, and he couldn't figure it out. Now, on the other hand, I think he looked at ICOs, other cryptocurrencies, and figured out how they couldn't work and figured out they can't work if they are called securities or deemed securities. So I think he had a sort of a come to Jesus moment on that. He studied the entire field and he said, Bitcoin is the only real innovation. Again, me, Isaiah Jackson, I can say it all day till I'm blue in the face. But when you have a guy who's a professor at MIT, not just a student, he was a professor at MIT, and he's saying Bitcoin is the real innovation, it's very hard for me to take people serious when they try to say something's better than Bitcoin or will supersede it. Because even Gary Gensler is saying it. So there's two things are happening. First, Bitcoin's pretty much untouchable. Second, if your cryptocurrency is deemed a security, what happens then? Will exchanges have to stop listing them for a short period of time? Will your project have to buy or get a license? Will it just completely go away because you have a smaller project that can't afford it? Will some people go to jail for it? Like, who knows? So Gary Gensler seems as though he's trying to attack the entire market. Can't really do anything with Bitcoin. Not a big fan of the SEC or Gary Gensler. Don't care about any of the regulators. The problem is, if he has the power to do it and he still can't do anything with Bitcoin, that should show you something. Other projects are in danger. Seems like Bitcoin's not. It's pretty much inevitable. They're just trying to find ways to make money off of it.
And again, I know we give Ripple a hard time too in XRP, and that's because as much as you all like to argue for it, its use case wasn't for the masses. And I still think once a Fed coin gets released or the Federal Reserve in the United States figure out what they're going to do, and I know Ripple is just not in the United States, but our military is everywhere. And I think that would literally kind of destroy the project. I won't say destroy, but definitely take away this market share. But I say all that to say, I do not want to see Ripple, like we both don't want to see Ripple XRP lose that SEC case. And that's the reason why. Like he's basically coming out to say, like Bitcoin, as they said, we can't touch Bitcoin, but everybody else, oh, we on your head. So let's go ahead and listen to this quote real quick from Gary Gensler. Oh, I muted it. Hold on. Look. You tripping now? I got it to the house. All right, here we go.
Ledger technology, moving value on the internet. And before starting at the SEC, I was honored, as Anya said, teaching about the intersection of finance and technology at MIT. This included courses in these various topics. And in that work, I came to believe that though there was a lot of hype masquerading as reality in the crypto field, Nakamoto's innovation is real. And some in the public sector would say, well, no, almost like wishing it away. I really do think there's something real about the distributed ledger technology, moving value on the internet. And before.
So he said that again. One thing I would be interested in see, I covered this last Friday. I forgot who made mention of it. One of the people in one of the government regulatory bodies essentially said something along the lines similar to this. I am just curious as to what the response from the SEC and the government is going to be, because again, that is not the talking point. That's not the message. And I don't care if you're the SEC chairman or the vice president, whoever, like if you're going off topic and target, they're going to come see you about it. So I hope he stands strong with this, and, you know, and regulation will mimic and mirror what his statements are when it comes to Nakamoto and Bitcoin being an actual real project and the real thing. So, I mean, hey, time will tell. But again, I don't want a Black Lives Matter sticker on a wall or painted across the Hollywood Boulevard, taking up 2 lanes when there's even more traffic now. I want actual policy, bills, laws, and regulations to reflect that thought of speech as well. And so far, we have not seen it. So hopefully Gary Gensler will be the change that we see, hopefully. Remains to be seen, though. All right, other than that, that is the show for today. Bitcoin's Day. Do you have anything?
Nothing for me. Shout out to everybody that came to the event last night. Free tacos, good Q&A. Even had a dude try to argue with me about Bitcoin. It was hilarious. So yeah, we got video of that. If you just go to my Instagram, you can see it. It'll be on Twitter too. But yeah, good times, baby.
What was the argument about?
Well, he was I will say this. He was a little bit off mentally. He wasn't all the way there. He was cool enough, but his biggest thing was he was asking a bunch of questions that it seemed like the template of questions people ask when they first get in. It was like, so where does it come from? And then he asked, what company created Bitcoin? And then he was saying,
okay,
the company.
We're going.
Yeah, so he just kept asking them in succession because he was trying to, I guess, he just didn't realize what was happening. And then people started getting a little annoyed. I answered them as best I can, but yeah, it was all good. It's always good to speak with people because, again, those questions, somebody was thinking those questions, actually. And even if they were quiet, I was just glad he asked it. So, yeah, just like the guy in Chicago, the other guy in San Francisco, a little bit of an argument, but not really. It was just like they just had a bunch of questions and never met anybody with the answer. So, good turnout, free tacos. Like I said, huge. I mean, we had people who drive up from South Carolina. Great to see. So, yeah, third stop on the tour. And next, we coming to LA, baby. Coming out there to celebrate Russell Westbrook and Melo and everybody else. We just got the whole Monstars team. He's like, everybody want to win the championship, come through, baby.
Hey, LA is back on top. Showtime, Lakers showtime. The Lakers is back. It's about to be a great year. And yeah, it's funny you just said that really quick. When I was on Twitter yesterday, I had to remind myself. I was like, oh, like I looked at some of the people profiles and where they're from, some things they've done. I was like, I keep forgetting some people are slow. Some people are slow for real, and some people have real issues. So it's just like, look, man, they just happy to be talking to somebody right now. Let it go. Comment section was lit yesterday. Yes, Trek, thank you. Great job on smashing the like people. I just saw it was 218 people here and 217 likes. Whoever the one hater is, thanks a lot. No, I'm just kidding. Appreciate you all smashing the likes. Last quick comment, Joe W. said, remember, Gary is the establishment. He is there to protect the establishment. We see regulations being used to manipulate and control markets like gold and silver. Have to be cautious with regulators and regulations for sure. We definitely do. Other than that, that is the show for today. If you haven't already checked it out, go to the website. The masterclass is there. If you haven't gotten it, people, so far the masterclass has been out, what? 3.5 weeks. How many complaints have you seen? We're a very public channel. We're very public. You haven't seen it. Like I said, I stand by that masterclass. I mean, I'm so happy about it. So if you've still been on the fence about it or been thinking about it, I would highly suggest you check it out. We talk about everything in that class, and I'm still seeing comments sometimes when people are saying, hey, how to buy or sell this or how to swap this. Like, We literally teach everything in the master class, so we don't have to repeat it every day. Other than that,
one dude texted me, said he made his money back already.
Yeah,
so,
boom, there it is.
It's 2 weeks. It's been 3 weeks. So
3 weeks, and people already made their money back on the master class. Like I said, the DeFi protocol we had in there is like a 3,300 at the time. I don't know what it is, haven't checked it. So there's definitely opportunities to make that money back. And last but not least, Friday. So Bitcoin Fridays, again, Cardano we will be talking about. And apparently we also need to be talking about which price aggregator we use. So if anybody who got beef, no offense to Gems, love Gems, but your Hexicans, boy, some of them need to be slapped in real life. So I welcome them on the show to tell us why we need to do what they tell us to do when they tell us to do it for some reason on a free show. But Bitcoin Fridays, Cardano folks, Nomics folks, or whoever else who got beef, come bring it. The only thing that may change is we're waiting to hear back. We may have a big interview scheduled for Friday. If it happens, we'll of course work Bitcoin Fridays into it. But if not, stay tuned. We may have a very big interview for you all Friday. Other than that, smash that like and share, and we will see you all tomorrow with some more crypto news. Cheers.